Hi guitar kids, this is Vivian Campbell, and today I'm going to show you some of the techniques and solos that I use. So let's go to the lesson. Hello guitar kids, and welcome to the Vivian Campbell video. I'd like to start by explaining a little bit about who I am and why I started to play guitar, and then we'll get into talking about my equipment a little bit. I've been playing guitar for about 13 years. I'm 25 years old. That makes it about 12 when I started. And I must admit, I never took lessons, but you should. And maybe this video will help teach you something. My early influences were guitar players like Rory Gallagher, Gary Moore, and anyone else who happened to come through Belfast, Northern Ireland, which is where I grew up. And I was really inspired a lot by seeing guitar players play live. Anyway, let's get on to the equipment. First of all, the guitars. This is my main stage guitar. It's made by Kramer. It's called the Night Swan. And it is a small scale guitar. The body is 12.5% smaller than a regular Stratocaster. It's made from Honduras mahogany, which is a very light wood, very resonant, very warm bass tones. The scale of the guitar from nut to bridge is 24.75 inches, which is similar to that of a Les Paul. The neck is double octave, 24 frets. It is bolt on. It is made from maple. The fretboard itself is made from Indian ebony. The headstock is reverse, purely for cosmetic reasons. The neck is also, incidentally, very, very thin. The whole idea behind this is so I can play choking style chords like this, as opposed to playing bar chords. A lot of guitar players play in the classical hard rock style, which is to have your thumb on the back of the neck. I prefer to play choking style chords like Jimi Hendrix did. And the guitar comes equipped with a floating Floyd Rose. And this is the production model of the guitar. I just received this one a couple of weeks ago. The difference being that this does not have the Telecaster pickup in the front, as this one does. The guitar that started it all was this one here. This is hand-built by the guy who co-designed the guitar with me, a guy called Buddy Blaze, who now works at Kramer Guitars. He is from Dallas, Texas, and this is the original one that he came up with for me. You may have seen it in some videos I've been in with Whitesnake. Anyway, that's basically the guitar. We'll get on to discussing the sound effects equipment. Now let's talk about some of the equipment that I play through. First of all, my effects. This is a Bob Bradshaw system. Bob Bradshaw is a guy in North Hollywood who is a bit of a sonic guru. He designs effect switching systems for guitar players who have a lot of toys like myself. The effects in the unit are, first of all, SPX90. I have two of these, one of which I use, this top one I use for like a harmonizer effect. That's a slight pitch above and below the actual signal. It kind of fattens the guitar sound. Secondly, I have a Lexicon PCM70, which I use for stereo delays for my solos. Incidentally, this unit and some of the others in this rack are also MIDI, which means that I can set different parameters for different programs, and I can call it up by way of the pedal board, which is like a MIDI controller. Next here I have Lexicon PCM41, which I use. It's a mono unit, and I use it for like a 400 millisecond delay. I have two of these Rain SM26 line mixers. I use these to mix the effects. They have panning controls left and right, and volume output for every unit, so I can mix the volume to the right and volume to the left. Another SPX90, I use this one for fifths. It's an effect that I use in one of the solos. I have a fifth above and a fifth below. I'll just let you hear that real quick. It's limited, but it's a nice effect. Next, I have Rocktron Exciter Imager, which adds like a glassy image to the top sound. It adds more brilliance and more high frequencies. I use this really when I have a clean guitar sound and I need the low end to chunk a lot more. I'll kick in the exciter. Here I have Roland SRV 2000 digital reverb. Obviously I use this for reverb. I use a gated reverb most of the time. Another line mixer like the one above. Here I have a Furman PQ3 parametric equalizer. I use this for the clean guitar sound to just even it up and add more mids and more highs to the clean tone. Rocktron compressor limiter. Next down I have TC Electronics 2290, which is a very, very complicated unit. It's capable of all sorts of delay patterns, all sorts of modulation. It also has sampling. This unit is fitted with 11 seconds sampling and it's full bandwidth. It's really very, very versatile unit and comes with a manual that is this thick, so it's something that will take a lot of time to explain, so we won't get into it right now. Next on, this is a guitar synth, IVL pitch rider. It's something that I don't use very much. Down at the bottom here, and in the back of the unit, I have two Rocktron Hush 2C units, which are noise gates of sort. They filter the high frequencies in your guitar sound that make all the hiss on top. And rather than a regular noise gate where it'll cut the sound, the Rocktron units filter it out so that it doesn't misinterpret a sustaining note for noise. Now next is the amp rack. The amps I play through are Randall RG100 HTs. These are solid state 100 watt amps. They have a lot of, what I like about the Randalls is the distortion. They have a lot of compression, a lot of high gain in them, which is, you know, pretty standard issue for rock and roll guitar sound. The guitar signal runs into the Bradshaw system through the effects, into the preamps, and then into a stereo power amp. The power amp I'm using is the Mesa Boogie Strategy 400, which was a tube power amp, so that adds more overall warmth to the final guitar sound. And also I can bypass the preamps. If I want to have a clean guitar sound, I just take the preamps out and all of a sudden I have no distortion. So that, in a nutshell, is my guitar sound. So let's talk a little bit about technique. Every guitar player has his own technique, which is unique unto himself. The way they pick, the way they use their left hand, the phrases that they use. Primarily it's the phrasing that's different with different guitar players. I'd like to show you how I pick, first of all. I try and hold the pick as lightly as possible, try and leave some play between the two fingers. It's not that important to pick every single note. Some guitar players like Al Di Meola, or more jazz players and rock and roll players, will pick absolutely every note they play. That would be important if you had a clean guitar sound, but with a rock and roll guitar sound, when you have a lot of high gain distortion, you can hammer on and pull off a lot more, and it sounds a lot smoother and a lot sweeter if you just play with your left hand more than with your right hand. It creates more of a violin legato effect. For argument's sake, let me show you. I could play a pattern without having to use my picking hand at all. So it's not so important to pick every note. However, it is important to play every note with your left hand, and it is also important to try and utilize all four fingers. A great many guitar players only play with 3 fingers. That works for some people, but ultimately you're restricting yourself. One exercise I do, which I'll show you now, to make my fingering very even, is to just play chromatic scales, going up in semitones all the way up and all the way down. It's not important to pick every note when you do this. I pick like 1 in every 4 notes when I do this scale or this exercise. Also, another thing I do is just to do a scale. This will demonstrate maybe some of my picking technique, where I would pick, I think this is 1 in every 3 or every 4 notes. You could do that picking as I did, which I think was every 1 in every 4 notes, or you could pick every 2nd note, or you could pick every note, or you could pick no notes if you want. It's entirely up to the individual. It depends how you want to play. Like I say, the less you pick in a distorted guitar sound, the less scratch and right-hand noise that you get, and the more legato and the more smooth and liquid your approach is. Most of today's faster guitar players don't really pick that many notes, because they now have the kind of guitar tones that are really liquid smooth, and it also creates a lot more noise. When the more right hand activity you have over the pickup, the more pickup scratching noise that you can get, because it's really when you're having a lot of gain, you can pick up a lot of noise from your bracelets or from your fingers or from anything, you know. So I try and pick as little as possible and just keep it very, very smooth. I'd like to talk a little now about harmonics. This is something that's very characteristic of my playing. As anyone will know, it really comes with picking with the side of the pick. That's how you create the harmonics. And there are 2 basic places to pick it up. One right about here, and the other right about here. I'll demonstrate it to you. You first of all attack with the side of the pick as opposed to flat picking. That's something that's very useful if you want to highlight a particular note in a solo. You can really make it scream by hitting with the side of the pick. Another technique I use involves some sort of stretch fingering, which I shall show you now. I'm in the key of E. It's basically a sweep arpeggio of sorts. It's something that's very popular in 80s style guitar players. I'll show you another. So it just involves trailing the pick over the strings, like that. It really helps strengthen your little finger and get that kind of a stretch in. And when you have that one down, you can do the whole thing all the way up the neck like this. Now I'd like to play for you a little and demonstrate some of my technique. And I'd like to tell you the piece that's accompanying me is in C major. So here goes. Now I'd like to explain to you all about one of the songs that I play with Whitesnake. It is called Still of the Night. And before I show you the solo section, I'd like to show you the rhythm section that goes behind it. It goes like this. Now I'd like to break down some of those rhythm parts that I played for you and show them in a slower mode. First of all, we'll go with the part that's the rhythm bit to the solo section. Now the actual riff of the song itself. Now I'd like to show for you the solo section to the Whitesnake song, Still of the Night. It goes like this. I could break that down for you and do it a little slower so that maybe you'll find it easier to pick up. The opening riff, I hit the open E string, then I hit the harmonic just above the 3rd fret on the E string, and I do a dive bomb on the bar. So after hitting the harmonic on the E string, I do a split harmonic with the side of the pick like I showed you earlier on the 2nd fret of the G string. When I catch that harmonic, I slide it all the way up to what would be the 21st fret and hit an E and then an octave. Got that? Okay. The next, the fast run in the solo is a succession of triplets, starting on the low E string. This first section, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D. Sorry, my mistake. There is also D flat, D, and E. I'll do it up to there. The next is also a succession of triplets. To show you slowly, I shall count them. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sets of triplets. I'll do them again for you very slowly. When you reach your last triplet, then we start a reverse motion, which is this. Then, followed by except obviously when you do it fast and at speed, there are no breaks in it. It is one constant thing. The final part of the solo, having reached the D, is to slide on the high E string all the way up to a high B. Just before I go, I'd like to show you this very simple technique that I use. It's a 6-note pattern. You can do it in any key, on almost any strings. Just figure out the patterns. Any pattern of 6 notes spaced over 2 strings, like this. Or very simple pattern. You don't need to pick every note. You need to pick just each string once for the 6 notes. Work at it a long time and build up speed. It's very, very simple. So, with that, I'd like to leave you. I hope you've learned something from this. My name is Vivian Campbell. I hope you learned something from this video, and I look forward to seeing you again. Bye, guitar kids. Hi guitar kids, I'm Vivian Campbell, and today I'm going to show you some of my solos and some of my techniques. So let's go to the lesson. Hello guitar kids, I'm Vivian Campbell and welcome to my instructional video. To begin with, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself and about the equipment that I use. Let's start with the guitar. This is a Kramer Night Swan. This is my main stage guitar. Some of the key points of this guitar are, to begin with, that it's a small scale body. It's 12.5% smaller than regular Strat style. It's 24 3/4 inch scale from nut to bridge, which is similar to a Les Paul. It has a size 1 nut, which is the smallest available. Very, very slim neck. The neck is bolt on, as you can see. It has a double octave fretboard, which is made from Indian ebony. The frets are jumbo, medium jumbo frets. And the main characteristic of this guitar is that it's available with a compound radius on the fretboard, meaning that I can have low action and have still be able to bend strings high up the fretboard without fretting out. So the pickup on the guitar here at the back is a full shred. It's made by Seymour Duncan and it's only available on this guitar. It's somewhat similar in output to a Duncan Custom, but a little bit hotter and a little more bass response. And in the middle here, I have a Duncan Jeff Beck model, and in the front, I have a Seymour Duncan Telecaster pickup. These are two similar guitars. This is the original prototype. It was built by a guy called Buddy Blaze from Dallas, Texas. And it's pretty much the same guitar. This is the first of the factory models that will be going to the stores. It's the same as the purple one, except it doesn't have the front pickup in it. Now let's talk a little bit about my effects and the amps that I use. The effects system here is a switching system built by Bob Bradshaw in Hollywood, and basically I can store 50 combinations of amps and effects in the pedal board and call up any of these combinations at will. Let's look at some of the effects in the rack. I have Yamaha SPX 90, Lexicon PCM 70, Lexicon PCM 41, a Rain SM26 mixer, another SPX 90, Rocktron Exciter Imager, Roland SRV 2000 digital reverb, another line mixer, Furman PQ3 parametric equalizer, Rocktron compressor limiter, chorus, TC Electronics 2290 multi-effects, and this is the IVL Pitchrider guitar synthesizer. And in the very bottom and around the back where you can't see, I have two Rocktron 2C hush units to keep it quiet. In the far rack here are the amps that I use. I have two Randall RG100 preamps, and I run those through a Mesa Boogie Strategy 400 power amp. So I can have clean sounds, and I can have distorted sounds, and I can have affected sounds. And I recall them all through this pedal board on the floor here. This has an on-off control for every amp and every effect. And I can run through the various banks and presets at will, depending on what song I'm at. And that is my equipment. So let's talk a little bit about the techniques involved in playing guitar, the left hand and the right hand. As far as the right hand picking techniques go, I tend to hold the pick fairly lightly, and I don't pick every note. Some guitar players, such as Al Di Meola or whoever, tend to get into picking every note in heavy guitar playing where you have a lot of distortion and a lot of high gain. You tend not to have to do that. So I'll show you a passage where I'll pick every other note or every third note or every fourth note or whatever. So, as you can see, it's not always necessary to have to pick all the time. You can play whole passages without picking at all. And when I do pick, I try and leave as much space as possible between the pick, let it go freely, and I try and always alternate my picking, one stroke down, one stroke up, especially if I'm playing something regimental like a scale. Because ultimately when you're playing things fast, you don't want to have to think about your picking technique, and if you're always picking down strokes or you're always picking up strokes, either way you'll find yourself cornered sooner or later in a situation where it's not free-flowing. If you double pick up and down, always alternate, eventually you'll have a technique that's very free-flowing. And as far as the left hand goes, I play, like most guitar players, I use all four fingers. Some guitar players, like Michael Schenker, never use their little finger. They always play with the third finger, and that's, I guess, just a habit that some players teach themselves, because your little finger is your weakest finger and it takes a lot of work to be able to use it. But it always makes perfect sense to me if you have four fingers to use them. So I'll just show you a little exercise I do to strengthen all four fingers and keep my fingering even. And it's just basically to go through the strings, starting on the low E string and going chromatically, playing G, G sharp, A sharp, and then up to C and whatever. Just very, very slowly. Very boring exercise, but in the long run it'll work out. It teaches you to have a very even approach with every finger, and it's also the kind of exercise where you can practice different picking techniques at the same time. You can either pick every note or you can pick one in every four, as I was doing there. It's it's something that I would recommend that you do with the metronome. Like most exercises, do it slowly at a pace that's very, very comfortable, because if you can't do it slowly, you'll never be able to do it properly at any speed. So get a metronome, get a room, lock yourself in it, and get bored and practice. To perhaps further demonstrate my technique of picking, I'd like to show you something I occasionally employ when I'm playing. When you have a high gain sound, you can get away with doing a lot of hammer-ons and pull-offs without having to use the pick too much. So I have a little trick that I picked up from Jimi Hendrix. He didn't show me it, but I picked it up. Where I use my right hand to mute the strings, and I just do hammer-ons and pull-offs with my left hand. My right hand isn't doing anything other than muting the strings. A lot of people come up and ask me, was I actually clamping chords there with my right hand or whatever, which I wasn't, but it is possible to use certain fingers on your right hand as capos and just go up the neck that way. Do something like this. I'd like to show you some other little patterns specifically to do with pull-offs. For argument's sake, something like this. That's in the key of E, just using basically a two-finger technique. You can do it on any string. Find the right note in the scale, like A, G, E, E, D, B, on those two strings. On the next two strings down, you can have B, A, and G. And F sharp, E, and D. Put them together just like this. Also, while you're doing that, you can use the palm of your hand right here, or your little finger or something to mute the strings and move up over the harmonics, and it gives you a very harmonic damping effect like this. So now I'd like to play a little piece for you to maybe demonstrate some of the techniques that I've shown you. And this piece is a very slow tempo, Dio-esque kind of piece in D minor. Let's take a look now at one of the songs I performed with Whitesnake. I'd like to show you the rhythm parts for a song called Give Me All Your Love, and I'll play you a verse, chorus, and solo pattern for this song. The solo in that song changes key. The key is actually in the song. The song is actually in the key of A minor, and the first part of the solo transposes to F sharp, and then comes back to A minor for the end. So I'll go through the whole rhythm part I played for you there slowly, starting with the verse. So let's have a look at it slow. I'd like to give you some direction now about the solo for the song Give Me All Your Love. The The solo that I do starts off on a split harmonic, like this. To achieve a split harmonic, you hit with the side of the pick. Just work it out around the pickups. There are two basic spots to hit, one about here and one about there. After the split harmonic, I do a succession of hammer-ons all the way up the neck following the scale. The scale, incidentally, is F sharp minor. So it's just two-note hammer-ons. All the way up to the highest note. Following that, I do a succession of triplets like this. Followed by a series of pull-offs back down the scale again, that go like this. Once again. Then I use a technique that is called spider hopping, whereby I play off one note and follow the scale up, always returning to the tonic note. It goes like this. So after the pull-offs, we're ended on the F sharp at the 9th fret on the A string. Once more. At this point, the solo changes key and returns to A minor. So I slide all the way from the F sharp position at the 9th fret up to the A position at the 19th fret. Once more, I'll show you that. And I end the solo an octave below that in the A minor position with a traditional blues lick. I'll try and do that slowly. It's pretty stock. You should know that by now. If you don't, you shouldn't be watching this video. So let's try the solo at full speed. Okay, so it's almost time to go, and before I do, I'd like to explain to you a little bit about what I think makes a good guitar player. It's important to be precise, and it's important to be fast and as exciting as possible, but it's always important to be dynamic and to be an expressive guitar player. And there's many ways you can do this. The way I find best is to revert to playing the blues a lot. Blues music has a lot of soul, and a lot of today's rock music doesn't. And play something real simple and real slow to practice with, just a 12 or 16 bar blues in whatever key, and use different techniques to make your guitar talk, like split harmonics or chord progressions during solos, like hitting more than one note at once, stuff like that. You don't always have to have a tremolo arm to do this, so it does help. It is 1988. So just little stuff like that. Play your blues chops and try and play simple melodies and try and be more expressive as a guitar player. And good luck, guitar kids. See you later.